Kyle Katarn here.
And the Bendu in the middle.
Welcome back to the Dork Forces podcast. This is episode 102. Today we're going to be doing a spoilerific review of episodes 4 through 6 of Andor Season 2. Yes, that's right. I said spoiler review. Consider yourselves warned. Yes. All right. First of all, those were some crazy episodes, were they not?
That's true. Also, shout out to everyone in the chat joining us at a different time today. That is, I do unfortunately have dinner plans later this evening. So Katarn was nice enough to let us kind of go a little bit earlier this evening. But this week definitely episodes were more on the positive and uplifting side versus last week's. What? It wasn't without its tragedy. It definitely, was very much not without its tragedy. But this week, I mean, it's kind of a red herring because in episode 5, so I think what we'll try to do, chat, is we're just going to try to, do the best we can to stick to each episode, as it goes. So we'll start with number 4 with Saw Gerrera. But something that Deidre said, and I think episode 5, was that they need to know what victory tastes like. And right. Man, I feel like with all the good endings and things, that all the high notes that episode 6 kind of gave us, theoretically we can only go downhill from here.
Right. Yeah. I can't really imagine how much worse it could possibly get. But now that I've said that, me and my big mouth, I think we're in for some rough times in the following arcs. But they did a really good job of building the tension slowly, and then sort of slowly bringing it to a boil, and then you're so anxious by the time episode 6 comes that you're jumping at shadows, you're just ready for the other shoe to drop. And I feel like it didn't fully drop, at least in my expectations. I was kind of expecting to get the Gorman massacre, but of course, that was the wrong impression, because these 3 episodes take place in 3 BBY. The Gorman Massacre is 2 BBY, so we should have known a year later it'll be in that next arc. But yeah, we got 3 episodes last night. Episode 4 is called Ever Been to Gorman? Episode 5, I Have Friends Everywhere. And then episode 6, What a Festive Evening. I can't see that title without thinking about Krennic just being such a smug bitch at the party. That was so good.
Yeah. Them going to the basement and just someone else, I think it was Chopper. There was someone on Twitter that was just man, just imagine what immediately Luthen and Mon were thinking when they saw just Krennic's smug ass face just turn the corner and be like, "Oh, hello." And then yeah.
I know, and everyone else's faces just fell oh God, this guy's here. He's totally that guy at the party,
And then the social political little diva off that Mon Mothma and Krennic got to have was
trading jabs.
Phenomenal.
That was awesome. That was really, really cool.
Yes.
So starting with episode 4, Ever Been to Gorman? Now we have. And you know what? Gorgeous. I really liked the set design, just the building of the world itself. It really felt like it had a palpable culture and history. The language was super impressive too. It sounded very much like a real language versus some of the little bit more gobbledygook stuff that we've had in the past, Huttese and Ewokese, Shriwook. It's just sounds. But this, it felt believable to me that people would be speaking this language, I don't know. I'm no linguist, but there were things in there that made it feel authentic to me. Ever been to At-Atten? Yeah, can't say I remember At-Atten. Actually, Age of Grogu, Brent here brought up a very good point in our previous conversation as a production designer, talking about how everything on Gorman is kind of informed by the spiders, the architecture, the the layouts of the rooms, Cyril's office in the Bureau of Standards is set up the windows at panels are set up the eyes of a spider. You've got these awesome reliefs all over the place, full of spider webs and arts, and just the way the columns in the courtyard, the way everything was set up is kind of informed by the.
That's true.
Spiders are the most important.
There were no harsh angles throughout the entire.
Yeah, exactly. It's the primary export of this planet, and everything is informed by that. And I thought that was so brilliantly, it felt so real and so authentic because they made those choices. Also in episode 4, just because we're on set design, Dude, what about the little bodega, the little convenience store that Bix and
Yeah,
Cassian walk into?
that was kind of
That
the
was
first
so
time
cool.
seeing it live action. I think the first time we actually got to see a bodega was in Bad Batch when Wrecker and Omega like were just trolling around whatever city that they were in, and
That was
they
Ord Mantell. Yeah.
yeah, she got the the little pink popcorn things.
Yeah, the
But
Mantell mix. That's what they were picking up.
the fact that it was so same but different, you know what I mean? Like I loved that because in Gorman there were some aesthetic costume choices where I was like, damn, that baker straight up looked like Beauty and the Beast. Like some of these scenes absolutely look like they're gonna about start bursting out in "Good morning, Belle. Good morning." Uh, like,
Totally.
yeah,
There
but the
was definitely that vibe.
dude, but like because we talked about it in during the review, our reaction, getting to see Coruscant in sort of like the more lower level kind of ways because we did get to do it with the Cortez sisters and with Ahsoka during the final seasons of Clone Wars.
There was a little less glitz and glamour. It was
There was
kind of
way
like
less glitz and glamour.
a big old brutalist concrete apartment building with a bunch of
Yeah.
identical little windows. And like, well, we got a taste of that in season 1 with Cyril's mom, where she's living. Like, she's clearly not living the high life either. She was very impressed when she saw Dedra Miro's apartment because it had like a cityscape view, you know?
But the fact that like when Andor walked in and like he picked something up, it literally looked like, you know, a Galaxy Edge version of like Lifesavers. Or like the chunky little
Those were
critter.
the Pizzos. It said it on Orbesh on the side, Pizzos.
Yeah, like it's just there were like, and then yeah, the little sandwich shop getting the ripe fruits, and then the fact that the dude was like, all right, well, do you want this to be ripe like right now, or you guys
Yeah,
trying
ripe today or ripe tomorrow?
tomorrow night? Yeah, like that's so real. That's so real. But at the same time, it also emphasized. I think that was one of the opening scenes that really emphasized the level of growing PTSD that these characters are starting to build up on and grow. Because like
Definitely.
the entire time, like Bix was totally fine talking to the store owner, but the longer that things were happening, like, and the more that Cassian was noticing the store owner like talk or notice or like, you know, pay attention to things, he immediately was just like threat assessment. It's just like,
He hasn't like gotten out of that mode since we last saw him last season. Like he's completely informed by these lived experiences where like nothing is safe, everything is dangerous, everything around you could potentially betray you or land you in jail. He's had to sleep with one eye open like pretty much the entire time. And with good cause. He is a very wanted man. Like the ISB knows his name, and that's never something you want, you know, the beyond just being a regular old rebel. We were talking about that a little bit with the last arc with Mina Rao, how they were paranoid about their visas getting picked up, and that Willman had kind of a bigger stake than the rest of them did because they were all like, you know, wanted just for being present at the riot on Ferrix. But he actually threw an explosive and blew up a tank. Like he actually like committed crimes. So like they're probably looking at him a little harder than the rest. And then Andor is a class above it all because he's implicated in this whole investigation with Axis, and he knows it. He knows that they're onto him. So I feel like it makes sense that Bix would be a little bit more blasé about going out in public, and Andor's constantly watching. He's constantly looking over his shoulder. Yeah, the little bodega was so great. I agree. I want space burritos from the bodega as well. Did you notice the little alien in the cage?
yeah,
Totally a bodega cat.
That was one of my favorites.
Totally what that was.
It was totally a what?
Like a bodega cat.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
You always got
like,
one curled up sleeping on the shelf. Like
I fucking loved how fat it was, and that it had little like tiny wings. But yeah, that was. I mean, so the level of the soldiers and the spies really starting to get worn down. I think that was definitely something that was more of a theme within these 3 episodes, because by the time that by the end of episode 5 and episode 6, when we get to like touch bases with Vel and Cinta, like Cinta obviously went through something that, you know, we may never get to find out what exactly it was. And I guess that makes it even more tragic when we eventually get to episode 6. But still with episode 4, one of the other amazing things that we got to see are we still going on Coruscant, or were you ready to move?
Yeah, no, we can move on from that. I'm seeing a comment here talking about, can we talk about how Luthen visiting Bix is very reminiscent of when Obi-Wan visited Padme in Revenge of the Sith? I totally got that vibe. Like, and I think it was calculated on his part to wait until Andor was gone to come and talk to Bix. Because, like he said, he had to have known that they would have that conversation, or that information would make its way to Cassian.
Yeah.
Is he testing him? Is he like trying to test their bond? To like, I feel like Luthen is concerned that Bix is more of a distraction for Cassian
Yes.
than a
like a liability sort of
exactly. And so he was trying to test the waters there and see how it would shake out. Oh my God, yeah, right. Like, it's a beautiful place. I don't know how long I would handle being there.
Right, but that's the thing, though. That's the thing. If you never go to oh God, what were they called? What are they called? They're not going to open. No. I mean, like where they live, the hive.
Oh, like the hive hatcheries or whatever.
I feel like because they used a word. They used a word during.
They had some like nesting facility. Like they had some term for it. Yeah.
There was a phrase or a word that they used during the uprising, during the meeting scene, where the buff guy with the suspenders was like, well, we don't even know if we want to open the hives next season.
The most French resistance ass looking dude I've ever seen.
Bro, yeah. That motherfucker. Yeah, well,
can you blame him? He was just going for a walk. You know, that's on them for not accounting for some looky-loo walking down the street. Like, honestly.
But dude, okay, but like, starting with, or like keeping the theme of like the very beginning of episode 4, though, the fact of how easy Cyril punked both of us to be like, oh yeah, shit, he broke up with Deidre. Oh shit, he moved to Gorman. Oh shit, he quit his job. Oh wait, no, he didn't quit his job. He just like got a transfer and a promotion. But like,
no, I totally bought it. I feel like such a fool. I feel like I would be a terrible rebellion agent because the ISB could play me so hard because I totally bought into it, and then I was shocked when it turns out he's actually working them. And I shouldn't have been shocked. They let us know ahead of time. They told us in episode 3 exactly what the plan was. We're going to get the Gorman rebels to do what we want them to do, to justify an increased Imperial presence and to crack down on the people there.
It's true. Oh, but the fact that he told his mom that she was watching too much conservative news was just like, it was so pertinent and so close to home, and just like, yeah, it was just little tricks like that, because he somehow knew that his phone, or I guess Deidre and Deidre's boss knew that his phone was going to get tapped and wired, so he was just like, oh, I'm just going to say the most obvious of fucking things so that they'll like me.
What they should have been watching more of instead of conservative news was the damn pod racing that we got to see. That might have been the little highlight Easter egg for me. Doubly so when you realize this isn't just any pod racing track. This is the Grapevine Gateway on planet Barduna from episode 1 Racer. It's confirmed right here in the Orbesh along the bottom of the screen there. Like, they canonized a specific racing level from that game. And that is the coolest thing.
Incredible.
Coolest thing, man. I got so excited when I saw the pod racers going by. Also, Cyril Karn has been I'm surprised that no one has noticed that he's bought like a comical amount of spiders at this point. Like, if anyone's paying attention to that market and seen how many times he's done that, it's like he must have like a mountain of them sitting in that place at this point.
Well, we saw in his living room introduction, he had 2 spiders next to the box that he keeps his watch in, and then he just bought the spider that had the little message candy in it. Also, the fact that it was rolled up in a candy and then the candy was hidden in the spider, so fucking funny and stupid.
I don't want to eat candy spiders, man.
Yeah.
That's not fun for me.
It was wild. But I think like one of the other just masterpieces of this episode
100% they do
was we got to see our boy Saw Gerrera. We got to see our boy in like the shoulder pads, and
I believe that was episode 5.
Nah, because he's in the thumbnail for episode 4. He's the one.
You're right. We do get to see him briefly.
When we first get introduced to the kid who was. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly the extraction system, the configuration thingy, that like the Rubik's Cube thing, like that they were trying to figure out on how to like get.
They were siphoning Rhydonium that had already been mined.
Yeah.
There's a process for mining the Rhydonium in the first place, but they were basically doing the thing where you suck on the tube and get the gas out of the gas tank and put it into something else.
Mm.
Like, it was basically that concept, but with a super volatile mineral that could explode And so they have this really sophisticated, like very touchy kind of system to make it to be able to extract it again. Which in episode 5, like that monologue from Saul Guerrera about how we are the fuel, we are what explodes when it gets unstable. Like that was so well delivered. I really liked that monologue. And also it adds new context to him like huffing on that little breathing thing in Rogue One too. Like maybe it's not oxygen after all. Maybe he's just like huffing Rhydonium. Keep him
going. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, Rhydonium is the stuff that causes the colorful explosions. Exactly.
Yeah, incredible.
I saw a comment up here saying, what was the point of Bix taking out Gorsk if they were just going to blow the place up? The point is that she needed to reclaim her sense of identity from her abuser. That was part of her healing process as an individual and as a person. It wasn't necessarily the most efficient way to get the Rebel Alliance's goals. This was about Bix. And it was a way to try and let her feel like she has a sense of agency again and hopefully curb the nightmares at least a little bit. I was concerned when she did that too, because I was like, this is a very secure facility. She's going to be on camera everywhere now. But then Cassian took care of it for us. He blew the place up, and that covered all the evidence, which at least is going to buy them enough time to to distance themselves from what just happened.
It's true.
Yeah, it was more about revenge and about catharsis than it was about like a rebellion goal. Although taking Dr. Gorst off the board was definitely a big part of it too. I don't think it was a Luthen mission. I think that was just Bix and Cassian. And honestly, Luthen might be pretty pissed about it too, because he's going to consider it extremely reckless. And I think that he's already coming unglued a little bit,
So I think he'll think that it's reckless, but at the same time, because of how because of how random this attack is, because man, I can't, hold on, I have to look I have to look at the cast again because I can't remember what people's fucking names
They had to blow it up because you heard the dialogue earlier in the episode. They were taking Dr. Gorst's work and expanding it to an entire division. So they didn't just blow up his body. They blew up all traces of Bix being there on surveillance. They blew up the cameras. They also blew up his research,
which I think
anything the Empire might have used to then expand that into like a giant mass torture program. So that's why they blew it up.
So I think Luthen, so on that note, I think Luthen will be upset because of the level of recklessness, but second-handedly, because of how much it's going to piss off Partagaz and because of how much it's going to like upset the Imperials, because they messed up their program, they messed up a new interrogation system, they messed up a whole different kind of war crime that hasn't even been a war crime yet. So it'll definitely be an intellectual hit to the Empire, but not as much of a financial one as like, stealing their resources, stealing their weapons, as like a lot of the other rebel groups are doing. But
the Aldani heist has still been the biggest debt they've made, I think. And that was just one sector's payroll. Andor demanded Luthen to help him get Bix back in her right mind. I think this was Luthen getting them the intel to take out. That makes sense. Makes sense. I could see this actually being sanctioned by Luthen. It's just we never saw that conversation take place. And the last time we saw Cassian and Luthen interact, it was very contentious. So yeah, I wouldn't have assumed that, but you're totally right. That could very well be the case.
Trying to remember what else happened in episode 4. Again, the adrenaline of this week compared to last week also, I think was just it was so easy continuing on through the three of them. Like episode 4 definitely felt like the most thick of cake compared to like the other two, which
it was layered and it was heavy.
Yeah, sure. Because like episode 5 was very much
speaking of cake, totally. His little fruity dessert that he brought back with him for listening to his torture files. She should have taken and just eaten the whole thing.
Yeah, like episode 6 was definitely the dessert for like the viewers, just because again there were so many. A lot of issues got tied up, and a lot of things were finalized and finished. The other really cool thing.
100%. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well here. But what were you going to say, Bendu?
The final really cool thing that I liked about episode 4 was the Mohawk guy at the travel agency. Really random humanoid alien with like the white eyes and just like
You
the
trying to go
most
to Gorman? What's the
dude, like
passcode?
guy looked so badass. I was like, what are you like?
Yeah, that was a cool little blink and you'll miss it moment. That character design was awesome. I hope he
Yeah, it was just
shows back up again, but
so
honestly, who knows if he will. There have been a decent amount of aliens this season, I think, and I think that that was a valid criticism against season 1 that there weren't enough aliens, and I feel like that they have kept that in mind while producing season 2 because I've definitely noticed like a deliberate uptick in that. Because like every planet in season 1 had like one token alien, and it was underwhelming. It was a little bit too human centric, but now it feels like a nice blend, and you feel more like you're in an intergalactic society instead of just a series of humans on a series of planets.
That's true. And then episode 5, I have friends everywhere. Shout out.
Totally, the whole thing was a build. The
to-
whole thing was a setup.
I think it was this episode where we got to see the ISB council meeting and our homeboy. Oh man, was it Lonnie?
Yeah, Lonnie.
Dude,
Lonnie, the most stressed out man in the galaxy.
who took one for the whole
Poor
team.
dude.
He took one for the whole meeting.
Oh, speaking up about how they're arresting too many people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
totally.
This like Artigas is like, how are we fucking up? What is going on? What is wrong? And he's just like, we're arresting too many people. Let's not just say like we're overworked or we're overstressed. It's just like we're not. We need a better.
Too high of a volume of intake. They can't process them all. They can't physically do it.
Yeah.
What a terrifying thing to think about. Like they're disappearing so many people, throwing so many people into cells. And like we know for a fact that so many of them aren't even guilty. Like we saw the whole Narkina 5 arc. We know how they roll with their criminal justice system these days. Well, I would agree with that if we were taking place on Empire-centric worlds, but like we're talking Ferrix, we're talking Kenari, we're talking everywhere that they went. The only time that we got a proper blend of aliens was when we were with Saw Gerrera's partisans in season 1. Like even the Coruscant scenes in season 1 felt lacking of aliens. But it's much better now. I think it's much better now. Yeah, aliens are not as expensive as you might think because the cool thing about all these Disney Plus shows is that they notoriously reuse their resources, which is why we've seen the exact same Rodian in every single Disney Plus show, except Andor, by the way. Like every time they make a prop, every time they build a speeder, they hang on to it, and then these are the things that they have ready to go for whatever subsequent production comes up. That we were talking to Todd about this. He was saying that like he built a speeder that was like his favorite speeder, and he made sure that it's parked on the street somewhere in each Disney Plus show. So like that, like once you've made it initially, that's the cost is gone. Now you can just sort of reuse it, and maybe you need to touch it up. But the props are there. They got a whole warehouse of these guys.
I think this episode, episode 5 was the more specific, like alien centric episode because this also was the episode that we got to see Mon Mothma starting to talk to the other senators, trying to get more support for whatever Gorman initiative that she was trying to get support for. But dude, the fact
I'm pretty sure one of those senators is the future Chancellor of the Republic, Villachum. He's the Tarsant that she's walking down the hallway with looks just like him. And in the sequel era, that's the Chancellor of the New Republic. Is that Tarsant senator? So that was kind of a cool connection. 2 sequel properties in this. We also got Dakar, the planet that Saw Gerrera was on. Is the resistance base from The Force Awakens.
True. Yeah, that was really fucking cool showing us. Dude, seeing Two Tubes, like, man, like there are certain things where it's just like Saw's group it's like if they had more ships, they could be pirates.
Yeah.
Or it's like if they are so close themselves because they just shanghaied that guy. Like they were just like, all right, cool. Well,
legit. They're like, yeah, you're not going home. Any deal you made that wasn't with me doesn't count when you're in Saw's house.
Yeah. It's just like, yeah. So potentially we're gonna kill you, but everything that you need to teach my employee. Oh, and then I find out that my employee is shady. I'm gonna kill him in front of you, and then
like
the whole thing was Breaking Bad.
So here's my question: was he actually shady? Or did Saw plant that on him to justify keeping the kid?
Well, I don't know. I'm not even sure if we're supposed to know.
The fact that we can't answer that question shows you just how shady Saw Gerrera really is. Like we can't put that past him,
Well, dude, it was the same thing with the
Agreed.
oh,
He looked
God,
fantastic. The Oath Keeper.
Giancarlo's character in Breaking Bad with the box cutter and like the chicken and
Oh,
just like, killing his employee because his
right.
employee had the audacity to think that like he could replicate the formula or whatever.
That's right. That's right. He
But
just did it
then,
just because,
oh,
and
dude.
also just for dramatic effect to make sure that Bryan Cranston was like proper scared of him.
See, but here's the other thing too. I don't know if he necessarily like faked that because as Sauce said, like that, like so hit that one employee. That was the only guy that he was like, all right, cool. We're specifically gonna go to this spot at this coordinate at like this planet at this time. And then like as soon as before he shot the dude, he was like, imps were waiting for us at that spot, therefore I knew.
No, he totally gave the guy the intel as a test to
Yeah.
see what would. He probably already had a scout at that location. He's like, okay, if Imperials show up, let me know, and I'll know that this guy's a mole.
Yeah. And then you said it last night. You were like, man, if Saw Gerrera gives you any kind of information, you're probably gonna die.
Yeah, yeah. You
Like,
want him tight-lipped. If he shares with you, then it's like, oh god, don't share that with me. That means I'm going to get killed.
yeah.
Because dead men tell no tales.
Which I'm sure, like, two tubes.
He
Man,
was
I don't know. It's so funny.
just a random man bun partisan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not recognize him. I don't think he was supposed to be someone that we were familiar with. And yes, the Gorman senator telling Mon why why they weren't going
That
to
they
vote for her
can't do it.
bill,
That he's not confident. That he's not going to do
quite
it.
literally voting against their own interests. Like that
Yeah.
was a very like
Shit
depressing
wild.
scene because you're right. The
It was
argument
wild.
was super convincing. And Mon Mothma knew it too. She was like, well, I'm not going to argue with that because that makes perfect sense. I'm just going to try and find another way.
Yeah. The show was wild.
Yeah, it could totally be that Saw was just saying that to justify what he did. And really, he just wanted this kid because this kid's clearly like knows this system inside and out and didn't want to rely on the dude that was learning it because he
that?
he
Yeah, I
wasn't
think that would,
confident.
like, that's also kind of a love-hate relationship, right? Because it's just like he had the I don't even know if it was confidence, but like he had enough awareness to like go to his boss and be like, "Hey boss, you gave me a really difficult thing. I really don't want to fuck up in the heat of the moment. I don't know if I can do this. I think we should keep this kid alive." Like it takes balls to be like, "Hey, I don't know if I can do this job correctly." And then that's up to your boss to be like, "All right, cool. I'm going to
The stakes are there though. It's like you better be honest about it because otherwise, what, you're just going to kill us all and make a mistake? Like it's very high stakes. And no, she is not. That was a meme that you have seen. And that's fair. They don't want another Chewbacca secondary character situation.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is just them limiting themselves because we can and we have had supporting characters that were aliens that become some of the most beloved characters in these stories. It is a fallacy to think that you can only act and portray emotion with a human face. It's absolutely possible.
Bro, speaking of, is my
There's also a hierarchy to how elaborate
about that?
alien prosthetics can be too. You can have someone look very near human and still get the job done.
Which is true. What about that messed up Pledge of Allegiance that we also got to kind of catch the tail end of?
Yeah.
Like, man, tell me you're in a dictatorship without telling me you're in a dictatorship.
Mm-hmm. And Mon Mothma just couldn't stomach it too. She had to just walk out. Can't say I blame her one bit. I can't find the comment anymore, but the Oath Keeper alien, that was a fantastic alien. I loved that design. It looked like the Prophet of Regret from Halo. That was the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah, he definitely seemed more on the Covenant side of the spectrum.
Yes, ate them both in one fell swoop, and that was kind of amazing. They say that Exar Kun was inhabiting the spirit of the beast. No, not really, but that would have been amazing. Yeah, the Opera House, getting to see the Opera House again was fantastic. I really liked that. I think we've been back there once since. I think we actually saw the Opera House in season 1 in like an establishing shot, but we didn't actually go inside it.
Yeah, it's true.
But getting to go in there again, that was pretty awesome. And I thought that sequence with Clea and Lonnie and the listening device was like the biggest nail biter in the whole 3 episodes.
6? Yeah.
Like making her hand bleed. She was working so hard to try and get that thing out. Like that was some proper suspense. That was really, really
those
good.
two, Lonnie taking one for Luthen, and then Lonnie subsequently also like helping out Clea in the final hour of the final episode was just like, and then him even like listening and remembering, and then the moment that Krennic was like, "Hey bitch, what is it? I don't want to hurt
it's a book.
Tell me what it is. I want you to tell me what it is." And he just so brilliantly, it was just like, it's a book. It's a book. It comes from a place where people who are blind is seen as, it's a gift. So
I feel like if I was Lonnie, I would have been like, huh? Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Just be honest about it. But no, he pulled it off.
So
I loved the way he did that double take too.
So good.
Like when he realized Luthen was standing next to him, he was like,
everyone's acting this entire show has just been phenomenal. Everything from like the Gorman
right out of the gate
missionary dude to Cassian talking to the daughter and pretending to still be his Varian Sky persona, but then at the same time, as soon as the daughter fucks up, he's just like, "Girl, I could have been ISB. I could have been a bounty hunter. Like, I could have been."
The way he code switched so back and forth, he's all like, "Oh, I'm this designer, happy to be here," to like, "You need to be more careful," and then right back, he's like, "Oh, it was so nice to meet you. I'll come by the store." Like, he's learned well from Luthen. He's clearly learned a lot.
Absolutely Luthen. He was so Luthen that episode, like it was incredible. And then the fact that when he got onto the ship and Luthen even looked at him, chuckled and smiled, and then like everyone was just like, "So who were you?"
Right, like who's this?
Who was your name? What was your name?
He looked over at Cassian and saw himself and saw the thing that he's done 1,000 times in that spot.
And then, goddamn, I think so. This arc also, I think, gave us absolutely two fantastic memes, right? So the first fantastic meme, of course, was just like, in hindsight, yes, Bix was going through substance abuse. She was also going through like some potential psychological trauma.
Hardcore PTSD.
She was going through psychological
100% she had PTSD.
But like the relationship, like, yeah, the couple fight in the kitchen over the air fryer food, and just
like, what am I doing? Like, what did I do wrong?
Something so like real and just human about that interaction.
Yeah.
And then we got our fucking fascist fanboy Cyril after like his little breakdown, or not breakdown, but his debrief with Deidre and Partagaz, and it's essentially like, "Oh, Deidre, I'm meeting your dad. Hey, dude, let me tell you all these fun things that I met on the secret mission that I wasn't supposed to be on a secret mission, and I know I'm totally not a cop, but let me like tell you all this stuff."
Partagaz basically is Dedra's dad. Like, she admitted as much. She'd never had a family before. She looks up to him and very much craves his approval. They're like, "Yeah, it's like, shut up, Cyril. You're embarrassing me in front of my surrogate father."
But then the fact that someone in writing, the fact that someone took the time in the script to be like, "All right," and then Cyril looks to Deidre and says, "This is the greatest day of my life. Does it get ruined if I say it out loud, does it spoil it?" And it's like, dude, you're so like, oh my god. But then also, in the words of Partagast, who also gave us a phenomenal quote, it was like, recalibrate your enthusiasm.
Like, calibrate your enthusiasm, because he's like, "Oh yes, I'm so excited with this assignment." He's like, "Really? Dude, tone it down. Don't be such a brown noser."
Yeah. Like, it was so, this arc, it was, dude. And then, but at the same time too, like, and then one of the most hardcore characters, Cinta. Like, we lose Cinta in the final moment, in the final hour of just bullshit, of like nothing even Imperial related. It was absolutely from the child, the stupid ass guy who like couldn't follow directions in the first place, and just like everything.
After seeing the Maya Pay Brigade, I have a lot more empathy for the Gorman front. I think that they were like, the Maya Pay Brigade were a bunch of clowns in the jungle, just infighting, and everyone wanted to be the leader.
Yes.
That wasn't the case with the Gorman front. It's like, I can't relate to like trooping through the jungle as a thing. Like, I've never done that. But like living in a place where you can see your society slowly being stripped away and your rights being stripped away and people overstepping, like, I can relate to that a bit more. And so like I empathized a lot more with them and like why they thought things like it's tough to like have outsiders come in and lead us when we've been, living this fight. They don't like the borders of the perception are the borders of the planet. They don't really consider that this is happening everywhere, And so like I could understand, I could put myself in their shoes a little bit more. And also with the weapons thing, they really should have listened and not carried blasters. But I understand why he wanted personal protection and why he felt like it was okay to do that. Turns out it was the worst thing he could have done because like look what happened. And speaking of which, I am very disappointed in Tony Gilroy for making that move. I think that like if we're gonna have our second ever on-screen lesbian kiss in Star Wars, and then you immediately fridge one of them, like come on, dude, with a stray bullet. That is the most played out, tired, cliche trope that like I really thought that this show was above that. And so I was pretty damn disappointed to see them resort to that. And Tony Gilroy even confirmed it in an interview that it had nothing to do with scheduling conflicts or this or that or the meta. It was literally just to give Vel more character development. They fridged her girlfriend for that sake. And that really does annoy me. It's like a blemish on an otherwise perfect show record, in my opinion. Yeah, no, it was extremely annoying that they would do that. She comes back. She's like, oh, yeah, I was gone for reasons for a whole year. We're not going to explain that. Let's spend one romantic night together, and then I'm just going to fucking die. Like, really? Really? Yeah, and not to take away from the fact that, yes, like, all kinds of people die in the service of the rebellion. That's not my issue with it. My issue is the way that they framed it, the way they paced it out, and the way they made it immediately following that scene. Yeah. Like, come on, guys. Come on. I thought better of them than that. But that was like my one complaint in this arc. Everything else I thought was fantastically done.
Yeah, and Cassian's assessment was absolutely like head of the nail. Trying to remember like what exactly he said, but it was like everything he essentially was saying that everything was happening too quickly and they couldn't catch up. Like they should have been thinking and doing what they're wanting to do now fucking last year. Like they should have been doing this beforehand, but now the fact that like the armory is already half built. Like, yeah, he was essentially saying they waited too long. They waited too long to do what they needed.
And now they're rushing because they realize that.
And they're rushing and they're scared and they're making rash decisions. And yeah.
Well, what do you do? What do you do if you realize you've waited too long? Do you just accept your fate? Do you still try and do something? Like, what is the right thing to do there? I feel like they have no choice but to rush because they realize time is running out. It's one of those hindsight is 2020. If we could have gotten started way earlier, maybe we wouldn't have waited too long. But
yeah, because Luthen has I was going to say because Luthen has a great point, but his whole point was that we're gonna if Gorman falls or if Gorman helps, either way it's gonna help the rebellion, because it's like if Gorman ended up being a really lucrative and really powerful piece of like, hey, look at this single product planet, they're gonna be part of the rebellion, like we can actually like make base here, like they'll hold influence to other systems, but then also if the planet gets like gouge mined and if the planet falls apart and if the planet ends up being seen as a galactic insurgency and it gets set on fire, then that also is going to inspire other planets and other systems and be like, look what happened to Gorman. We can't let that happen to our system. So it's just like, man,
it's very calculated and very cold on Luthen's part that he's like, Cassian, you're not wrong. They're not going to win this, but we need them to lose it so that we can basically martyr this planet.
Yeah, if Gorman burns, it's going to burn so bright. Like, yeah, dude, that's so.
And like, yeah, no, that's totally valid. But at the same time, miss me with this tribalism. I mean, like, just because Andor is your show doesn't mean that it's immune to criticism. Like, it's a perfectly valid criticism to say that they're using a played out, tired trope. Fridging a gay character is going to leave a bad taste in my mouth, no matter how you try and dress it up and justify it. Like, yes, people die in the rebellion. People die all the time. They didn't have to portray it in this specific fashion. A choice was made there. Oh yeah, speaking of choices made, Jimmy Smits recast Bail Organa, right?
I think he looked good. He looked
Benjamin
totally
Bratt.
fine.
He was great.
If
He
anything,
was great.
you know, if anything, he looked a little skinny. He looked a little thin. But I
His
mean, like,
build is slightly different, yes.
yeah. But like visually, I mean, if that's all that we're gonna see of the character, like,
Well, no, I
dude,
don't think
that's
it is. I think they
totally fine.
deliberately gave us a little taste so that we would have this conversation now and get it
Yeah,
out of the way, so that next arc, when he actually like makes big moves, we can focus on that without getting lost in the weeds of the whole recast discourse, you know.
that's
And
true.
I like I don't know. I'm of two minds of it. Like obviously this was kind of an unwinnable situation for them with Jimmy Smits not being available because like you know you can't really have a rebellion story in this time period without Bail Organa. He's too instrumental. It would be you'd get criticized for not including him. But recasting him, you know, that's going to irk people who need that visual consistency. And I enjoy some visual consistency, but I'm also a realist. Like I get it, you know. We need Bale. I think he did a good job. I'm just grateful that we didn't get some weird Jimmy Smits deepfake monstrosity because that would have been
It's true.
way worse. However, like Benjamin Bratt, he's such a good actor that I do kind of regret that now he just gets to be Bale number 2 when he could
And
have
they're
been
friends
a
though, and
different
they're
character
friends.
in
I don't
Star
think
Wars
it's
and absolutely nailed it as some fresh original character. Like he would have been great there too.
yeah. I don't think that that's necessarily gonna be the case because I don't think yet we've even had moments where
Exactly,
like
exactly.
we haven't had any major moments where we get to see Bail Organa and Mon Mothma have like pro Republic or like pro rebellion conversations as of yet. So it's like it still would be.
That's a dangerous conversation to have out in the open
I
on, you
know,
know,
right?
Imperial
So like,
Center, if you will.
so at some point, it would be really cool to see those actors and to see those characters like have those moments of like, all right, cool, best friends. We're now like this is our shit. The rebellion, our shit. But then, unfortunately, of course, Bail Organa gets blown up via Death Star. So you know, there's that. But
Yeah, it's I have to keep reminding myself that there's a happy ending to this story. And that the Emperor dies, the Death Star gets blown up, the rebels win the war. Because like we're really going through the trenches on this show and they're really putting us through it. And like sometimes I forget that. Like, you know,
dude, and
oh
then
yeah, it is gonna have a happy ending. Just hang on for that happy ending. Cause like, oh man, they're really gonna make us suffer. The
and then
night's
the
gonna get a whole
Mandalorian
lot darker
and Grogu
before the
are right
dawn.
around the corner, and we get Thrawn, and there's going to be a whole Thrawn war, and then we still don't even know about the birth of the First Order. Like, there's so much shit left, best friend. There's still so much shit
Yeah,
left.
we've got a long way to go.
Oh
2
my
full
god,
years worth. And the pacing, I think, is just insane. The way we're getting 3 episodes a week. We're already halfway through the series. And
it
we've had
is.
2
It is.
nights of releases, you know?
So I think, as my significant other kind of like brilliantly brought this to my attention, this could be Disney experimenting in benefit of the binge culture. Like this could be them experiment because like before they have given us really short seasons or they have done the thing where like they'll just dump it to us all at one time, like with Visions or with Tales of the Jedi or Tales of the Sith, or now the upcoming Tales of the Underworld.
Can't wait, dude. Yeah, this weekend, Sunday.
Oh man. But yeah, giving us these 3 episode chunks. But I mean, it also makes sense because they're all mini arcs, you know? So it's like in order to keep the internal stories more consistent and easier to follow, giving it to us in this moment like does kind of yeah, I think they're experimenting with a lot of different storytelling techniques with this for sure. Seeing what their viewer numbers might be like.
I hear you with writing Bale out of the story, but I'm telling you that's an unwinnable position. People would have heavily criticized that decision too, because Bail Organa is a
He's
very
integral.
yeah, he is. He's a crucial part of the rebellion movement at this time, and you can't just sort of not have him there. Like he would have to be there in some way, shape, or form.
Ah, David, I know, dude. I know. All of us are
I'm so
waiting.
excited for that
We have
part.
six
That's going to be
episodes left.
amazing.
There's still time. There's still yeah. There's still time. We still
I
have
heard that too, and I'm very excited by the prospect of next year getting Rogue One re-released in theaters for the 10-year anniversary. It would be great to watch that again on the big screen after having the context of everything in Andor season 1 and season 2.
dude.
Yeah,
Oh my
that would
god.
be fantastic.
There'd be so much weight. Oh, well, I mean, well, I guess it really depends on where they leave us with the final 2 arcs. Because with these first 2 arcs, it definitely has given us so much context to Cassian Andor as a character and as a person, and it's just given us so much internal build, especially
Yes.
for Mon Mothma also. Like, even though this show is called Cassian Andor, like, we've gotten so much Mon Mothma.
It's called Cassian Andor because Star Wars Rebels was taken.
Yeah, because Rebels was taken.
This is a show about the Rebels. This is the show about the Rebel Alliance, you know?
And Rise of the Rebellion would have taken too long, and I think, like, yeah, that might
Rise
be...
of the Rebellion is also taken. That's a ride at Disneyland.
That's true.
Like, oh, they've already used all the good names. No, we're in for an absolute treat. I think it's going to be a wild ride from here on out. And speaking of like the re-releases and getting it back in the theater, Revenge of the Sith. Seeing Revenge of the Sith in the theater was
I'm so glad you got to do that. I was worried.
Powerful and impactful, having seen the Clone Wars and all of the context that the Clone Wars informs in that movie and strengthens certain scenes, adds new dimensions to certain interactions. Like, that's what I imagine it would be like to watch Rogue One, having seen both seasons of Andor in the theater. Like, it would be an incredible experience. And speaking of Revenge of the Sith in the theater, I went and I got to see it, and I picked up this little drink cup, this little Darth Vader drink cup, and I discovered something kind of hilarious about this. So
it's like Bart Simpson, man. It's literally
like a Homer Simpson head.
Bro. Yeah,
oh, look at this shape, dude. It's like Easter Island motherfucker up here.
Like Easter Vader. Yeah, it's...
I love it.
Island
that you refill the drink from the top there. But like, I don't think they thought this through all the way. Yeah, put that back on. There you go.
You still put the straw through both sides, right? It's not like you have to take the top of the helmet off.
No. Yeah, straw goes through there, and then it also goes through there. It goes right in. But like, man, talk about an unfortunate head shape. I feel like I suddenly understand why he wears that all the time.
That's very Simpsons. That is a very Simpsons coded skull. It's a very, yeah.
And because we're talking Revenge of the Sith, the 40X chairs were actually pretty cool. I did not know what to expect. It was just like the meme. Here, I'll play it for you.
See, I feel like there were definitely some scenes that were way more in context or were way more designs to take advantage of the 4D chairs versus some other scenes, which I guess kind of helps, because then if you're just shaking the whole time, then it really just distracts you from the movie, versus like if they're very picky and choosy with when they want things to trigger or how they want things to trigger.
Right. I feel like that was a lot of fun for a technician to like map that out with the chairs.
Yeah.
Get to watch Revenge of the Sith 100 times and just like pick out the good moments. Hell, I'd do that for free. I've already watched Revenge of the Sith 100 times. I'm already qualified for that job.
Right. You just have to know how to make which chair do what.
Yeah, right. Have one chair right in the center be like 10 times more intense than all the ones around it.
On a other slightly closing note, outside of episode 6 and outside of Cinta, it was also absolutely hilarious getting Clea and Luthen to have their little moment of like, man, we really should have just killed Krennic right then and there. You know, like, doesn't matter.
I love that like made them both crack up.
Wouldn't have mattered if we went to jail right then and there. Could you imagine just like, oh, we just jumped him and started stabbing?
I think we all needed that joke. We all needed that joke. Like, the audience was so tense. And also they had so much interpersonal tension that like they really needed that too.
That's true.
They really needed that moment.
I like them so much. I love their relationship. It's so, yeah, it's so genuine, but also like so master and apprentice, like in its own fashion, in its own.
Very much like two competent co-workers that don't always agree, but they always get the job done.
Right?
That's the read I get on them.
Definitely like a Ron Swanson and whatever Aubrey Plaza's character was in Parks and Rec.
Yes, totally the same as their similar dynamic.
And just cutting her hand, forcing that thing out, like the drama and the tension, like it was brilliant. It was absolutely.
I think that was the most intense part of the whole thing. Like for me, at least, it was. April, thank you. Yes, April Ludgate. That's her name. They fully have a Ron Swanson and April kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
I think Luthen is a bit more animated than Ron.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Much more, dude. Especially this arc too. Like this arc, someone said Luthen was kind of unraveling, or Luthen was kind of losing it. I don't know if he's losing it
I
necessarily.
mean, he said they're drowning. That's how he
He's
feels.
definitely feeling overwhelmed. I think because of the fact that the Emperor has so much influence and obvious, like, power, meditation, dark force power, like going through the ether. Like, dude's on steroids. The Empire itself is just growing and expanding at like and he's just one dude. He's just one man trying to, like, as we said last night, he's trying to filter out all the real rebels from all the bullshit. And he's really trying to, like, put together a team of like the best of the best, but at the same time, he has such a ticking time clock over his head.
Luthen understands that even the useless rebels are useful to him.
In some way, yeah.
Because his goal is to unify as many and to create a rebel alliance. But he understands that some of the rebels are either not up to the task, won't live that long, but they're still useful to him in that, like, Gorman, for example. He wants Gorman to fail so that Gorman can provide.
Succeed, but if they fail, he's okay with that.
Well, he wants it to provide to galvanize the other planets that are teetering on the brink of rebellion as well. He wants to martyr this planet, which is really insidious, and it shows further that Luthen really is like the anti-Palpatine, and that he's also scheming and operating from the shadows, but doing it for the light side. His plan is no different. His plan is no different than Dedra Meero's plan. Dedra Meero wants to like get the Gorman people to like go as far as they can and then use the aftermath of that to her advantage. That's exactly what Luthen's doing too. He also wants the Gorman rebellion to fail so that he can use that to his advantage and push his narrative of like, look how much the Empire is overstepping. Look what they did to the Gorman people. And the Empire, like, look what the Gorman people are trying to do to us. And so there's some brilliant symmetry between Luthen and the ISB right now.
It is true. But could you imagine?
Exactly. He wants it to burn brightly, as he said.
Dude, I'm just waiting either next week or the following week. Like, I think we're pretty. If it doesn't happen this way, I'd be very surprised. But like, if Cyril gets found out as a mole and they lynch his ass, or if Cyril just dies during the Gorman uprising, just as a bystander, just like in general, like if he just gets straight bullet shot like Cinta.
I'm really nervous that something like that might happen. I don't see him getting killed by the Gorman front. I really don't think they've got the stones, for lack of a better term, to do that. I think that they would like arrest him and throw him in a cell and be like, we have due process and we're a peaceful people and blah, 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 which is why they're not going to win. But I think it would be very like powerful for like would also explain why Dedra has that panic attack later too.
Yeah,
he's
like something has to happen to him while he's off world. Something
if her actions result in the death of this man, then like that would absolutely do it. That would absolutely do it for her. I did notice that Blevin was just not there anymore, and I feel like there's a fairly high turnover at the ISB because it's extremely competitive and it's also extremely stressful. And
I can see that.
They're also extremely overzealous when it comes to punitive measures in terms of security. So if Blevin like lost his wallet somewhere and some random got a hold of his key card, they just execute him for that, high treason, even though it was a fully a mistake. Like they don't care. Everyone's replaceable. Just get rid of you. Someone else
you lost your entrance.
You lost your wallet? High treason. You had classified intel in there. Boom, you're done. Like
that's so horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible, but I could see the Empire doing that. Like I could see them doing that stuff.
Also, oh my god, because we just have to reiterate. We have to reiterate because even the dude was just like, "We're running on rumors. We need more information, Cyril. Cyril, we need your help." Like the fact that the Gormans for a half second thought that that the ISB was going to try to pull an insurgents on Palpatine, and that
oh my god,
had their own
absolute irony,
ideals in mind, and that they were going to try to take the Emperor or take the Empire from the Emperor, and it's just like, bro, you guys have no idea the Death Star.
Palpatine would never stand for this. They literally said that. The irony that like after last week's discourse, we've got these guys. And the whole point is to show how ill-informed they are. And that's what they say. Like, God. Sometimes art really does mirror life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was
okay. So something else before we call it a night too. it was interesting in the canon and with with stabilizing the canon, the Tarkin massacre, renaming it to the Tarkin massacre, saying
Turns
that
out there's 2 massacres now. It really
that happened
sucks for the Gorman.
16 years ago, and that there's a monument in town square because of the Tarkin massacre. And then, that's what's giving Gorman somewhat of a vote amongst the Empire. But do the Fox News and the propaganda be hitting people hard, and no one wants to like the spider people anymore?
Their whole little Good Morning Coruscant show.
Dude, that was disgusting.
That was very much like part of like the whole bread and circus, just focus on the pageantry of it all rather than like this really harmful legislation getting passed. Like, oh, I don't want to talk about the politics. Let's talk about the parties and the fashion and the celebrities and this and that. Insidious cuts a little too close to home. I was like, oh God, felt that one in my gut a little bit. Yeah, Tony Gilroy's not pulling any punches this season. He's definitely letting us know how he really feels in many, many ways. Also, I appreciated the juxtaposition of like Cinta and Vel having like the steamiest kiss we've ever seen on screen. And then it cuts to Dedra and Cyril having like some pre-scheduled lights off missionary vanilla sex. Like that.
Oh my God. Yes.
Hilarious.
Oh my God.
Like
that's
there's
so
a statement being made there too.
So
There's a
funny.
statement being made
that was
there too.
So hilarious. I'm like, oh, we only have an hour. Turn the lights off.
Turn the lights off. Let's get going. Let's get going.
Like,
bring out the interrogation droid.
Vanilla.
Yes, Wolf Yularen bought the media. It is now state-sponsored media, which, you know, definitely could have seen that coming. That sounds like right out of the Empire's playbook. But like the confirmation that Yularen's behind it, man, you used to be cool, Yularen. You used to narrate the Clone Wars. Look what happened to you.
Yeah, see, Rayanne, all of us were like, again, they did the Hitchcock thing. They did the Hitchcock thing where they didn't show us anything, but they made us think about it, which made us even more of a pervert. Because we're just like, oh God,
there's nothing there that I want to see.
There's nothing. Yeah, it's like it's like that awkward sex scene in The Shape of Water. It's like no one wants to see this.
Oh my goodness! You just had to remind me of that, didn't you? You just had to put that back into my head.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about the fish one either. Yeah.
Stop. Taro, good old Parkin Tarkin. That's what they call him around these parts.
Dude, that was wild.
Yeah, so based on the size of that courtyard, because like we don't have a whole lot of Legends information about the OG Tarkin massacre. We're just going to call it the Tarkin massacre moving forward instead of the Gorman massacre, because just to make a distinction here. It wasn't a huge courtyard. It was big enough for the Carrion Spike to land in there, though. The Carrion Spike being Tarkin's personal ship. There's a bit of a debate that's been going on about what exactly they landed on these protesters. An Imperial Star Destroyer would crush a lot more than 500 protesters. So that's probably too big to fit. A Victory class, a little smaller, but still, that's the silhouette of that's not fitting inside that courtyard. Carrion Spike is almost a perfect fit for that thing. So that would be my guess of what he landed there. They said it themselves in this episode about how like Gorman is like a primary export planet. There's one export there, the spider silk and the calcite, but no one really knows about that. So that's why they were so up in arms about like the taxation of the trade routes and like the blockade. Like it really was they made them realize just how vulnerable they were. And when Partagaz in episode 1 is talking about how Gorman has so much political capital and a lot of sympathy in the Senate, I think that is because of the Tarkin massacre. You know, it happened 16 years ago. It happened pretty soon after Revenge of the Sith, when the Empire was very much a fledgling government. And so the Senate still had a lot more free will, and I think they rallied behind Gorman in that way.
It definitely had to have been one of the Empire's like first controversies to kind of go over.
Yes, one of the first. I think I mean, obviously, Order 66, the assassination of Palpatine by the Jedi, like the attempt. Like, that's the thing. It's been all drama with this guy.
It's true. So
every time Palpatine comes out there, he's like, "This attempt done my life." You know, it's like, get over it, old man. Like, we get it.
It's true. Yeah.
But I think that's why they have as much pull as they do, and that's why Partagaz was, you know, a little bit flabbergasted that Krennic is so brazenly just like, we're going to take Gorman. We're going to take all their calcite with gouge mining, destabilize the mantle of the planet. Something insane like an 80% chance risk of like total collapse.
When they say total collapse, they mean the planet falling apart. It's not just
the planet like collapsing. They mean collapse. Yeah.
They're talking like billions of people dead. Like,
I actually I think it was a small number. I think they said there's like 800,000 Gorman on the whole planet,
damn.
which is teeny tiny. That's a really small planetary population. But then again, we don't know how big Gorman is. It might not be a very big planet. A Star Destroyer would be a pretty dumb thing to squash people with. I agree, unless like he lands and then kind of does one of these,
Oh,
like
God,
rolls
that makes it even
rolls
worse.
it on the sides.
That makes it
But like
even worse.
that's a very Legends idea, isn't it? That's that sort of stuff does not go as par for the course with the weird choices they made in Legends. Yeah, there you go. The population is actually in the billions of spiders.
Yeah, that's true.
Ugh.
I mean, if anything,
Thank you
too,
for that.
like if it were a Star Destroyer, could you like? I think there would also be too much damage to the hull and too much damage to the ship itself. Like, I feel like that would just be like a beached whale sort of situation. Like the likelihood of him just like bringing that shit down and then the
We have
thruster
seen a Star
happening
Destroyer
on the
land
system
before,
to
right?
try to bring it back up, like for a Star Destroyer. Like, yeah, it's the only other time we've seen a Star Destroyer sized ship take off was in Attack of the Clones when we get to see like the initial ships like leave Coruscant.
Venators
And
can
they
land.
needed-
Venators can land, yes.
Yeah, they needed to go forward and then take off. It wasn't just like an up down sort of thing.
Before Rogue One, it was pretty widely accepted that a Star Destroyer could not handle being inside an atmosphere. The gravity would tear it apart. Like it couldn't. It was just too large. Like it needs the weightlessness and the inertia of space to be able to do its thing. But then we got one above Jeddah City, so that's not canon anymore. Now they can do that too. And then, oh hey, Murder Pause. Also in Legend, the Lusankya, the Super Star Destroyer, is parked underneath the surface of Coruscant. And in the X-Wing novel, when they attack Coruscant, it actually like rises up from underneath, very similar to the fleet on Exegol in Episode 9. That's a Super Star Destroyer. So if that thing can park, I have to assume an ISD can do it too. But we've never seen it. We've never seen it happen.
God, it's insane.
Maybe it just has gigantic landing gear.
God, it's disgusting.
Yeah, no, it's rough to think about. But the carrion spike is kind of like it's a spike. It's long and skinny and would fit in that courtyard area. And it has a long, flat underbelly. So that could easily crush about 500 people, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, well, okay. That was in dry dock. And I don't believe it was touching the ground. I believe it was clamped on the sides of like the superstructure that it was parked inside. It was parked. It was parked, but I don't think it was a landed parked. I think it was like hooked on the sides. Is this true? He got told to ham down the performance. God, I'm loving how much he's chewing the scenery. Like I thought he was overdoing it in Rogue One. Hold on to your hats. Like he's doing so much here. And I love it. He's having so much fun.
As Krennic?
Yeah, he's having such a good time.
It's
Thank you. Yes, it was elevated on struts. That's what I thought. The more you know. The more you know.
Oof.
Carrion spike because it's spike shaped and because Tarkin kind of looks like a vulture a little bit. So carrion, you know.
That's funny.
It's pretty big brained. Pretty big brain naming convention. He's swiftly becoming one of my favorite parts of this show. And he's being used very sparingly. He just sort of shows up briefly, is a total diva about something, and then leaves every time. Like he fully just came to the party to bring everybody down and like talk down to people, like the arrogant snob that he is. I mean, like I've seen that theory too, that the ship was a Lambda shuttle. However, there's no way he could crush 500 people with a Lambda shuttle unless he like boing, 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 like kept going up and down again in different parts of the crowd, because it's just not big enough. You could crush maybe 100 people could fit under that thing, but not 500. All right, and with that, we're coming to the end of our podcast. A little bit of a shorter one today, and we do not have a Gonk of the Week, unfortunately, but we will have a banger of a Gonk of the Week for you next week, and you can just sit with that information and kind of speculate about what it's going to be, because I'll tell you right now, it's a pretty cool one. I wasn't able to put the presentation together in time, though, so we're going to save that for next time. We do, however, have a quick vintage commercial, since that's our new thing that we're doing, so let's roll a quick clip on this one, and then we're going to bid you all adieu.
Yes, thank you, every evening. Thank you all. Tune in because in the next following weeks we are going to be doing reactions and reviews for Tales of the Underworld.
Yes,
as well
coming
as
soon.
Andor. So the next few weeks are going to be absolutely jam-packed. So stay tuned.
The reaction for episode 4 is up on the channel. The reactions for 4, 5, and 6 are all up available on Patreon right now in their uncut glory. And Star Wars Underworld will be up there starting on Monday as well. So take a look at those and enjoy one of my favorite vintage Star Wars gaming commercials right here.
Star Wars. It's great in the arcade. Whoa! TIE fighters! Fireballs! Coming right at me! Watch the laser towers. Aim for the tops. Pick on the cannons. Use the force. They're coming too fast! It's way! It's way! My shields are gone! All right! I'm going in!